reference. You have them here, com frequencies, and it shows exactly the same thing, just in a old school, non-dynamic way. So this is the airspace volume. Stockholm, ACC sector, kilo, or here only mentioned ESOs K. K1, K3, K2. And if we, let's see, that's a sector. There's also a position called Stockholm, kilo, Stockholm Kalle, with the login call sign ESOS underscore K underscore CTR, which isn't really that important, but just so people can relate to it. In LOPs, we only use the login call sign in the position lists, as you know, if we just go to Gothenburg here, this bar. Its only relevance is technical. We don't use it any other way than when we sign on to VATSIM. In all the documentation, it's only mentioned there. Otherwise, we talk about the position name and not the login call sign. You can also log into ESMM underscore XYZ CTR, and you can still activate as Malmö 5 position. But if we take the example now with Stockholm Kilo, there's a position, ESOS, Stockholm Kilo. It can cover, and it will always have highest priority within its own sector, so to say. So Stockholm Kilo, the position, if we have all ACC positions open, Stockholm Kilo will cover Stockholm ACC sector Kilo. Makes sense. But we usually don't have, I don't know how many it is, like 10, 12 ACC positions open on a normal night. I've never seen it ever. I don't think it will happen in very many years. And also not the case in real life. So we combine sectors. And it's slightly limited how it works, as it's all predefined, and Euroscope just reads from the GNG package, from the ESE file, where every sector has a priority, which sector has the highest priority for. So if each one position can cover several sectors, and it's predefined. So if we have, for example, sector Kilo, we can take here, or we'll do Malmö as it's common. We know it already, Malmö 5. The position Malmö 5 covers Malmö ACC sectors 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, Kilo, and Lima. Unless other Malmö ACC positions are open, then it gets a lot more complicated. But that's the difference between positions and sectors. I also mentioned here, think of a position as a seat at the workstation. And then you can choose which seat you sit at, so at which position. That's a combination of your login call sign, ESMM underscore anything, or no underscore at all, just ESMM underscore CTR. And then you activate your primary frequency, and that chooses which position you are active as, and which position you identify as, so to speak, in the Top Sky and Euroscope system. And then comes the complicated part with several ACC positions open. As you all know, we had the Appendix B, previously Appendix A, also available within that iris under Documents Quick Reference. I think you've seen this before. Have the main positions. We have two position splits and 3 and 4. Not everything is shown here, but I think all of the main positions and some extra ones. It becomes pretty complex very quickly. On the back end, more technical page of it all, it looks like this. Okay, Stockholm, this is sector 1. Stockholm 1. It says sector here, but yeah. Exactly. The airspace volume Stockholm 1 can be covered by Stockholm sector, Stockholm 1 or Stockholm 9 or Stockholm 3. As you see, the position Stockholm 1 has the highest priority in sector 1, and Stockholm 2, the position, has the highest priority in Stockholm sector 2, the airspace volume. and so on. So it will always end up covering its own sectors if we have several positions manned. This is complicated, and we have the Appendix B, previously Appendix A, and then that's more of just a graphical quick reference as it was before. It's still available. It will be available for quite some time, I think. We have just very many different sources to look at this information now. Also, Otto Tukkonen has been so kind to make his website. He had it. Yeah, there's one for Finland. I think it's just sectors. Yeah, exactly. And then you can see common combinations. In Finland, it's easy because they have no vertical splits. Then you see who covers what. It's very clear. And you see the cover represents the position covering it. And the text is still just the airspace, the sector name. So it never changes as the color. But if we go back to the Swedish one, we have Stockholm and Malmö positions. Just take a common split, Malmö, 5+7. It looks quite crowded because we have all of the vertical splits. If we want to see a specific level, we can see here. We scroll up and down, and it shows nothing in Gulf airspace or where no one is covering, as it's. If we put Stockholm 3, it looks very unclear as they're the same colors. So this is a great tool to view maybe abnormal combinations not described in Appendix A. So these 3 pages, on which we are on page 1 now. And then Appendix B, which you've seen before, which shows some more combinations than Appendix A, but it's purely graphical, no practical explanation, just, okay, this is the split. And then you make your own assumptions, your own decision, okay, is this a suitable split for the present traffic situation? And then from that iris, you can view Appendix B, and this page will be iframed soon within that iris as well. But this is available already just if you open the link in the wiki page. If someone is having problems finding it, it should be publicly available as long as you're logged into the wiki here. You should be able to view it. So we have quite a lot of pages, as it's very important to know which area you're covering, as seeing what's lit up in Euroscope is definitely not enough, as there are very many different sector combinations. You can choose whichever page you find the most suitable. So the very special new position. You might have seen this frequency before. It's used to be the Sweden planner, which is a term or a role it still can assume as long as Stockholm and Malmö sectors are covered by other positions. But say you're doing an early morning shift in the middle of the week. It's very calm. You want to cover more than just Stockholm AOR or Malmö AOR. So you log on to Sweden Control or ESAA or just Sweden or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's not suitable to call it Malmö. It's also not suitable to call it Stockholm, as it covers both. So therefore, ground to ground, when you come, if you have, for example, Stockholm Approach open, I'm opening Sweden, and then everybody will instantly know which position you're talking about because you stopped using Malmö and Stockholm for Malmö and Stockholm positions. So Sweden is ESAA, even though radio call sign, which you use on the frequency, is Sweden Control for all of them. And it will cover all of Stockholm AOR and all of Malmö AOR. It's also available on this on Otto's website, ESA. It's under ESOs, but it's for both, and you cover everything. It's just as Stockholm 1 was before. If Stockholm Approach logs on, they will cover Stockholm and all of its underlying positions. As let's see, Jan, what is he writing? Vad ska man skriva? Skicka en länk. Går det? Invite people. Nej, man kan inte invita. Copy link. Om inte en link hjälper, det vet jag inte. Så, where were we? Exactly, ESAA, the Sweden position covers all of Malmö and Stockholm AR, and it's only to be used. These are not restrictions, but more guidelines and suggestions on how you may and should use this position. If there's Friday evening or Saturday evening and you think, okay, I will be fine on covering all of Sweden, Stockholm including Malmö AR, which you probably won't be. We all know it. Overload comes when you least, or usually when you most expect it, but also when you least expect it. It's only a matter of time till the next overload situation comes. And on this position, I can guarantee you will be overloaded if you sign in on a Saturday night. Also, it's not really optimized for, I mean, technically it works exactly the same way as Stockholm 1 position did, but if you're expecting to split with another ACC position, so if you think, okay, I might as well open ESAA Sweden, and someone wants to open and say, okay, I will cover Malmö. So I will open Malmö 2, just like before. It will cover all of Malmö sectors, and then ESA will cover all of Stockholm sectors. Then it's preferable that you, from the beginning, sign on to Stockholm, or that you reconnect with that position. Of course, technically it works with you on ESAA and the other one on Malmö 2, but then then it gets complicated. Should you then call yourself Stockholm, even though being signed on to ESAA? So here are some guidelines, just to know. If you expect no AC splits, no events affecting Swedish airspace, and low to medium airspace workload. And of course, don't hesitate to change to a smaller position or reduce the service that you're offering. We have the right to reduce top-down service if it guarantees us to give a better quality of service to the pilots we are actually servicing. So also Sweden, or if someone has a better suggestion, which makes sense, feel free to speak or write. And if you find anything unclear in these documents, just write me or Martin Loxbo, and then we should take a look at it. I mean, there's probably some slarvfel in here, I'm not sure. But that's page 1, general. Any questions so far? Most of this you can read yourself, but having some loud reading here in a group doesn't hurt. Malmö. This looks very familiar to most of you, I think, now with the new wiki format being more or less established. And it has exactly the same format. We have the login call sign, purely technical relevance, and then the position, which is what's mentioned then in the continuation of the documents and all of the other LOPs. And then in notes, we have the sectors. That position is covering if it's online or open as the only Malmö position online. And ESMM Malmö implies Malmö ACC as that's all of the positions listed here. Well, some bold ones, main positions. In Malmö, there are actually no changes, except that Stockholm 1 is not covering Malmö. Instead, the Sweden position is. And it's not mentioned here as it's mentioned in general, as it's a general thing covering both of them. And then you refer to the separate LOPs as before with information on coordination with other sectors, etc. We also have some new positions here, which might be new to some of you. Some of you might have seen them, some of you might not. First, we have correct frequencies here. If we go to the old LOP, the PDF LOP, as I said before, the sector maps are very outdated. Some of the information is correct, some of it isn't. If there's some position you're looking for a specific airport, I suggest looking at that airport LOP instead. Kalmar, for example. Then go to point 3, coordination, and then you'll have here, how do you act? how does Kalmar Tower expect Stockholm ACC to act, and how does Stockholm ACC expect Kalmar to act, with traffic relevant for them both. And same for Malmö here, we can see. This is this, so to say, overrides the older PDF LOP. It's complicated, as you know, with where to pick, which information to pick, which is the most updated. LOA, lots of agreement, is usually very updated, and the wiki is easier to update than the PDF, so it usually takes precedence over the older ACC LOPs in the PDF form. But sector maps are old, and the position lists are even older, having no 833 kilohertz frequencies. So we have them here now with the correct frequency, position names, and also the new positions. We have Kryss Kalle, Kryss Ludwig, Info North, Info South, or if you want to call it maybe X-ray kilo or extra kilo, or I'm not really sure. What I've heard in real life, they're usually mentioned as Kryss Kalle and Kryss Ludwig, as all of the people at Malmö ACC speak Swedish. And they can be opened to cover. They operate within sector Kilo and sector Lima. For example, if you have holding into Copenhagen or Malmö, and you have lots of other traffic already covering sector Lima, for example, if you're already on Malmö Lima, someone can open Kryss Ludwig and just handle the holding if you get overloaded, for example. Or if you need a fine directive for Sturup, it's also available. So we have some new positions, and then Info North, Info South, I think it's a predecessor to having Sweden information positions. I have no idea what the future is of that, but they're available. The frequencies are real, and you can sign on to them, and then you'll cover. I don't know how prepared it is technically in Euroscope, but yeah, just covering, or not really covering, but being responsible for flight information service in Gulf airspace in sectors 4-5 or sector Kilo and Lima. And then we have the top-down coverage. It's also mentioned in the PDF LP, extra positions, what they do. And as they're not described in the PDF LOPs, I really recommend you coordinating very well with the position that's affected. Asking maybe, is this position needed? Usually you don't open a position like this unless it's really necessary. As you see, the thick line here, below the thick line are the extra positions, and then on the top we have all of the, so to say, normal positions that are directly bound to one sector, as I mentioned before. Of the airspace, the overview, very simplified. You can check LVE charts or PN Route 6 or LVE charts in that iris. But here's just to get a rough overview of how the sector looks. Then we have the main positions, etc., etc. It's not really, there's nothing new with Malmö. But it gives, as you see, it doesn't show all the position splits. It just shows the most common one. And if you want to open Kilo, covering Kilo Lima, or opening Lima, just covering Lima, available for S3s, as we know. It's all here, nothing new. Also, it's all here if you want to see, okay, opening Malmö 2, Malmö 8, and then someone opening Kilo. Okay, what will be the coverage of that? And then we can see with the different colors. Or in the Appendix B as before, nothing new. What did I do? 2, 8. I think I did a strange combination. Not available here. Then it's good that we have the website generating the map dynamically. Let's go on to what you're all waiting for. Stockholm, the restructured future of Stockholm ACC on VATSIM. Stockholm 3, the main position, which used to be the main position covering Stockholm AOR, all of the Stockholm sectors. It remains unchanged, covering all the sectors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, Foxtrot, November, and Kilo. And Stockholm 1 has become a much smaller or position covering fewer sectors. And as you see here, what's in notes, it says exactly the same thing here, just Stockholm instead of Malmö. If you're the only Malmö or here Stockholm position open, you cover these sectors. They're also described here under point 3 with a graphical, like quick access. We'll go through them one by one. But we have the main position, Stockholm 3. It's the same as before. And also listing all of the top-down coverages here. Then in Stockholm ACC in real life, you have, what do you call it? Behörighetsgrupper. So like an endorsement, if you're on the ACC side of things at Stockholm ACC, as they're also, the approach positions are also in the same room. But then you have a Yankee or a Zulu endorsement. And that's the split that we get when opening Stockholm 1 and Stockholm 3 today. Except, let's just ignore Malmö as it's a totally different ATS unit. So this shows nothing about Malmö, and we're not covering Malmö with any Stockholm position at all, starting on Thursday when this gets implemented. But Yankee Group, Baltic Sea, Stockholm 1, 2, 6, 7, and 9er. So this is what Stockholm 1 is covering now, plus Malmö. And then Stockholm 3 is covering the rest. And this is the most what's it called? Most common split for a reason. It gets you get a very equal workload who covers what, and you have very many position combinations that will lead to the distribution of these sectors between two positions. And I think now you understand why it's so important to differentiate between sectors and positions. Two AC positions open, the Yankee Zulu, YZ split can be achieved with the following positions. So if someone opens Stockholm 3, let's say, then they will cover, as before, all of Stockholm AOR. And then you want to cover Yankee Group or the Baltic Sea, more or less. Then you can open Stockholm 1 or Stockholm 9, and you will get the same sectors. So Stockholm 3, the main position, we have all of the sectors here as well, covering everything. Normally preferred position when traffic situation allows. So if I have two ACC positions, it might be preferable just opening Malmö 2 and Stockholm 3. Then we get the split which the airspace is designed for, with climbing 280 and descending 290 and so on. We all know it. But this manual or this part of the appendix is only for Stockholm ACC, so it doesn't mention Malmö. That Malmö might be a suitable combination with one Stockholm position and one Malmö position. That's something you have to figure out yourself. Just look, or it might be better opening Stockholm approach or Göteborg approach or Malmö Kilo or whatever. But it's not mentioned here like a position priority, which position to open first, as that's very much dependent on the traffic situation. But if we don't want to cover all of Stockholm AOR, it's too much. But usually we want to focus on Stockholm, unless we're called Martin Thornberg. We'll get to that later. But then we have Stockholm 1, now covering all of the numbered sectors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Also represented here in the image. Also listed here, Stockholm 1 of the main position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. And covering no Malmö sectors, as that's only this Sweden position, which is newly created or has been repurposed, so to say. And I think this is optimal if you have maybe lots of traffic in the north, but you want to focus on Stockholm and you're alone, you have no Stockholm approach online, or if you're splitting with another position, etc. As we know, if someone opened Stockholm 3, we can open Stockholm 1 and we get the Yankee Zulu split. And the next position, if we want to cover only the Baltic Sea, only the Yankee part of the Yankee Zulu split, or the Yankee endorsement, if we want to call it that. 1, 2, 6, 7, 9. We open Stockholm Niner, and these main positions, no matter the combination, they will never cover more sectors than this. So Stockholm 1 will never cover northern parts of Sweden, and Stockholm Niner will never cover Stockholm 3, 8, 4, Fox, November, and Kilo. So the main positions, just the core sectors that they are covering, it will never expand to more than these sectors, but it might be reduced when there are other positions open which have a higher priority in some sectors. And then Stockholm 1, Stockholm 9, and of course then we have the opposite to the Yankee group. We have the Zulu group, covering the rest. So Stockholm 3, 4, 8, Fox, November, Kilo. This was not possible to cover before with only one position. Of course, this is what Stockholm 3 is covering today if Stockholm 1 and 3 are split. But if you, for some reason, want to cover northern Sweden, but you still want to cover 3, 8, now you can with Stockholm November. And then you might want to cover northern parts of Sweden, but not Stockholm. Hint, hint. Thornberg is probably not here. I'm not sure. This, unfortunately, he will not only cover Stockholm, just sector Kilo with opening the position Stockholm Kilo, but he will also cover 4, Fox, November, and Kilo. So it's the Zulu group without Stockholm 3, 8. Those are the 5 main positions that you can open and combine. But the coverage here is only, as I said before, is if you're the only ACC position open in Stockholm AR. Now the split, again, Yankee Zulu split can be achieved with this. It's also shown, there's an updated appendix here as well. 3 or November plus Stockholm 1 or 9 or the Yankee Zulu split. It gets very colorful here, but it shows the exact same picture as this one, just with different colors. So no matter the position you opened before, there's usually a good way to do the Yankee Zulu split, which might be the preferred one, usually. We also have a variation of the Yankee Zulu split, where sector 3 and 8 are covered by the position covering the Yankee group or the Baltic Sea. So think Stockholm Kilo, and then the other position will cover all the rest. And this can be achieved by, if we have Kilo open first, Thornberg is opening because there's some Kiruna traffic. Then we say, okay, we don't want you to have, or I mean, he will never cover 3-8 because this is the maximum coverage he will ever have on sector Kilo, luckily for him. But then we can open Stockholm 1 or Stockholm 3 and we will cover that area. Or if he's on Stockholm November, he actually wants to have sectors 3 and 8 as well. Then if we open Stockholm November exactly. No, if he's open on Stockholm November, then we can open Stockholm 3 and then we will cover 3, 8. But if we want to have the normal Yankee Zulu split, then we go back here. If he's on November, then we open Stockholm 1 or Stockholm 9 and we get the Yankee Zulu split, where 3, 8 will be covered by the one covering northern Sweden. And we have the normal feeder sectors, similar to Kilo Lima on Malmö. You can open them just independent of which other positions are open. Kilo Lima, just opening Malmö Kilo, you will cover sectors Kilo and Lima. Unless Lima is open, of course, which will cover sector Lima. And it's the same here. Sector 2 will cover sector 2, 4 will 4, 6 gives 6. Maybe we can do it like this. Didn't I have it here? There we go. So if someone is open on Stockholm 3, if we want to, let's scroll down a bit here. If we open 2, 2 will only cover sector 2. 4 will only cover sector 4. 6 will only cover sector 6. Stockholm 7 will cover sector 7. Unless sector 2 is closed, then Stockholm 7 will cover 2 and 7, as it says. Only sector 7 is 2 is open. Makes sense. If sector 2 is open, sector 2 covers, or Stockholm 2 covers sector 2. I also get confused, as you know, with positions and call signs, positions and sectors. And then we have Stockholm 8, previously only covering sector 8 at its maximum, but now it also covers Stockholm sector 3, if sector 3 is closed, of course. Then if we combine it like this instead, let's just reset this. So we have someone on Stockholm November, and then opening 8 will cover 8 and 3. So it's a similar way of how Malmö Kilo acts, covering 2 positions, covering 2 sectors, sorry. And those are not really described further here, as you will decide yourself, okay, do we have a high load at Aarhus Eltok, or is there a high load at Nilug? Is Stockholm 3 open? Then we can open 7, or just 2 if we only want to cover the arrivals. But it's available here on the website. You can see it graphically represented. Also here, I don't think the feeder positions aren't really described here, but here you have all of the other position splits. With Kilo, if you have November and Kilo, for example, then Kilo will cover Kilo, of course, and November will cover November 4 and Fox. So you can play around here all night long as much as you want. I think it's very important to know what you are covering, not only by looking what's lit up in Euroscope. And that's more or less the position combinations. I mean, Yankee Zulu is not really new. It's just we increased the number of possible position combinations covering that airspace split. And then the variation with 3-8, coming to the northern sectors instead of covered by the same person. Sorry, it will be covered by the same person covering the Baltic Sea, or the Yankee group. Are there any questions? Jonas Lund requested to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Chapeau.
What about covering the entire country? I mean, I usually
Yes.
don't really have time on the evenings to do much controlling, but I do in the daytime, and I can easily do ESOS 1 in the daytime. So I was wondering if that's possible.
Yes, you missed the beginning. The general page, we went through it. We have a repurposed, more or less new position. When we talk about positions, we talk about the unit name, which we also use when we coordinate ground to ground. So we use Sweden on the radio, and we use Malmö and Stockholm when talking to other controllers. As we have, for example, we have one position covering sector 2, and maybe more sectors in Stockholm, so Stockholm 2, and we also have a Malmö 2. But they're very different, even though they're both called Sweden control on the radio. So it's very important just differentiating between them. But then we have the new position, which is the only position which may be called Sweden when coordinating, the ESAA CTR. This is just login call sign, but what we want to care about is the position. It will cover both Malmö and Stockholm AORs in their entirety. So it's
Okay.
like today, Stockholm 1 becomes, it's as you saw, or maybe you missed it too, but it will cover a different set of sectors, not even all of Stockholm AOR. But ESAA, Sweden will cover all of the sectors of Stockholm and Malmö together.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for you answered my question, and I must say, very good job.
Thank you. I mean, it was a great job of Petter and Håkan and Martin. I've been actually, due to limited availability, I wasn't really helping where I could have and should have and wanted to, but it's turned out great anyways, and I've tried my best doing some documentation of it. As you see, not all of the sector combinations are here on the wiki page. We have only the main splits here on the wiki page. I mean, of course, we have all the positions listed, the top down coverage and all that, and also an overview of the sectors showing no vertical splits. Same here, LFE charts or AIP. And if you want to, maybe seeing this should suffice to seeing, okay, Stockholm 7 will cover sectors 2 and 7. But now we know, okay, open 3, and then 7 will cover 2, 7. We can see it here graphically represented as well if we want, showing the different levels. Vill jag kommer med, alltså det enda som är som liksom överföras till wiki-format istället, det är ju ett mastodontprojekt som det är väl typ jobbas väl typ på, men det är en bra bit bort. Om det är 1 år eller 2 år eller ett halvår vet jag inte, men det är ett bra bit kvar, och GOP:n det finns mycket info där. Det är väl bara just det här med radarseparationen som har blivit som bara har specificerats, och istället för att ändra i GOP:n då i den pdf:en så la jag till det här för att jag tänkte det är ju relevant för ACC-positionerna. Ska jag kolla min lilla lista här? Ja, vet inte, är det någon kvar som inte snackar svenska? Nej. Det blir jättebra.
Jag tänkte fråga en grej till. Alltså,
Ja.
när kommer det här att implementeras? För det här är ju en jättestor ändring.
Det här har samordnats med de andra grannländerna senaste veckorna, men nya A-racken som ska släppas på torsdag 25.04, alltså torsdag den 17 nu, ska det här sättas i drift. Wiki-sidorna och den här AC-sektors Otto Tukkanens hemsida, den finns. Och Appendix B, de är också uppdaterade redan. Så om ni kollar Stockholm nu så finns ju allt det här, Stockholm 1. Men den gäller ju först från och med torsdag. Men jag tänkte jag lägger in det så att man kan kolla efter vi haft det här mötet, och nu också parallellt kanske. Men det är från torsdag som det ska gälla. Sen just på torsdag, den nya A-racken som kommer, då kommer GNG ha en ny supplier för sitt dataset, så det kommer nog bli någon delay. Jag kan inte lova något, men jag tror det kommer bli försenat med det släppet faktiskt. När vårt GNG-paket släpps så börjar det gälla. Så det kan vara så i värsta fall att det är en dag eller 2 dagar när de andra länderna har släppt sitt och vi inte har släppt, och så är det så skickar de till fel position. Då får det väl vara så 1 eller 2 dagar, men i och med att det går ju i GNG, så att när vi lägger in, jag kan visa. Man kan lägga in här sectors, ska vi se. Det är mest Petters.
En fråga till Max. Jag tänkte på, vad heter det här, wattglases. Måste nästan uppdatera det också.
Ja, det behöver absolut uppdateras. Jag har inte lyckats med det.
Jag gjorde det en gång för länge sedan, men jag ser om jag kan ta tag i det där igen kanske.
Ja, det skulle vara väldigt bra. Jag fick massa felmeddelanden när jag försökte göra de här parsers. Det skulle vara gött om du kollar med oss, för jag tror det kommer med lite techsektorer och sånt som inte ska vara i wattglasses. Det finns ju lite olika. Ja. Det finns massa olika. Allt som är definierat här i EEC:n är ju inte automatiskt liksom. Men här kan vi ju se, vi kan se från alla andra länder här också vad det är för sektorprio. Vilken som kan täcka först och sist och så vidare. Men den är ju, vi ska se, ja, man kan se det i alla fall. Så det följer ju med när de andra släpper. Det är det som är fördelen med GNG, att det är globalt liksom. Så de kan släppa, norskarna och danskarna kanske släpper paket någon dag innan vi gör. Men vi får se. Om det kan bli en försening. Men vi får se hur det blir. Beroende på hur mycket som ändras i datasättet med den nya suppliern. För då kanske alla stars och SIDs måste göras om så att de kan visas och läsas rätt i listan och sånt. Så jag håller tummarna på att det håller sig så likt som möjligt. Men det här är i alla fall kommunicerat med alla grannländer och inlagt på vår sida så att vi och grannländerna har den informationen. Så det var väl det egentligen jag hade. ESA-positionen, ny. Tänk på att använda enhetsnamn när ni samordnar så. Och callsignet är fortfarande Sweden Control, också för den här ESA-positionen. Men den skulle jag kalla för Sweden som positionsnamn. Och de andra skulle jag ju kalla för Malmö och Stockholm, som de gör på riktigt. Ska vi se om jag får fram det här igen. Så, Janne, kör på.
Ja, jo, CPDLC. Hur blir det med det om man sitter ESAA? Måste vi göra någonting med hopp i servrarna eller?
Nej, det finns. Vi väljer ju bara vilken login-kod vi ska ha. Där kan man ju fylla i princip vad man vill. Men det ska man ju, det är ju förifylld och alltså Sweden-positionen kommer ju ha ESA. Så
Ja, just det, okej.
det är
Ja,
bara. Och sen blir ju väl att gissa att jag vet inte om ESOS 3 kanske får ESOS då. Eller om den ska ha ESO 3. Vi har inte tagit den diskussionen än faktiskt. Det är bra att du säger det.
Så om man startar upp Euroscope och så sen klickar på Connect, och då ser man vad det står i själva den här texten och det är det som gäller, eller?
Alltså CPDLC-loggonen menar du?
Ja, precis. Ja,
Ja, den är förvald beroende på
ja, okej. Ja,
vilken position du väljer. Så den ska alltid vara rätt.
ja, okej. Ja, ja, men
Och sen om
cool.
man är osäker så står ju det också i login-profilen, alltså i Connection Dialog i Euroscope, där det står Sweden Control, see VAT classes for coverage, där står det också CPDLC och sen står det ju koden där. Så man vet
Ja,
om
ja.
man loggar in med standard. Det är också det här komplicerade med en problematik att använda login call signet, för du kan logga in som vi tar Malmö för det är bättre exempel. Du kan logga in med SMM underscore XY CTR. Och sen om du, så länge ESMM och CTR, att det är rätt typ av position och det är rätt enhet, eller vad man ska säga, rätt kod. Om du primar dig då till Malmö 8, väljer den i headsetet i voice communication setupen, så kommer ju Euroscope och TopSky kommer se det som aktiv på Malmö 8-positionen. Och det vet vi också där med att prima på innan. Eller det är ju, man primar sig på automatiskt om man loggar in med ESMM underscore 8 CTR. Så kommer den ju prima automatiskt. Men om du väljer ESMM underscore 8 eller underscore Q CTR, då kommer det ju inte prima på något automatiskt. Men det har varit diskussion om det och vi får se hur det blir någon gång. Inte nu till torsdag, men att man manuellt måste välja en position och prima på den. Så att det inte blir det här, logga på, prima av och sen prima på när man är redo. För att man ska ju bara, när du är påprimad, då kommer ju du få labels. Då ser ju Euroscope att han äger ju det här luftrummet och då är han en del av sektorsekvensen och Euroscope tycker att man ska skicka över labels till dig och så vidare. Och därför är det viktigt att inte prima på innan man är aktiv i position. Inte innan man är färdig med samordning och sånt heller. Du kan ju med track audios kan du välja positionen lätt. Jag tror i AFV kan man plussa på, alltså lägga till den liksom så att du kan höra frekvensen innan du är påprimad. Men prima inte på innan du är aktiv. När du är helt, det skulle jag säga i alla fall är det sista av en samordning med överlämning, att du primar på när du har fixat din ATIS, du vet vilka banor det är, du är redo att assuma all trafik. Då är det jättelätt. Du primar på den andra som du tar över efter, om det är samma position. Han primar av, då kommer ju han har alla labels, då kommer han kunna klicka transfer, för att då blir ju du den enda som är aktiv och han är inte aktiv. Så det är bara att han klickar transfer i alla labels och så blir det super easy. William, det är samma kära pris, källa. Vatsim Radar tar från VAT classes. Och VAT classes är lite utdaterad, för Örebro tema har bytt form till exempel. Men för Malmö-sektorerna och Stockholm stämmer det väl hittills, tror jag, precis. Men nu från torsdag, vi får se om Janne, det skulle vara skitbra om du kunde kolla på det. För jag har inte lyckats Jag är inte hacker nog att kunna få alla parsers där att funka som de ska. Så är det med det med primning. Att det är viktigt att inte prima innan man är aktiv. Precis som att om du sitter och öppnar Landvettertornet och så sitter de på approach eller på Malmö. Då försvinner ju alla plan från listan för överliggande positionen för att den tänker, ja men de täcker ju inget på marken så då behöver inte de se något i departure list längre. Och då går man ju in där på departure list och man behöver aktivera det manuellt. Det är ju, ja, på vänstersidan i banvalsmenyn, alltså högersidan väljer du ju start och landningsbana, vänstersidan väljs ju automatiskt av vad du är primad som. Så den ska man inte behöva röra alls. Men om någon har primat på, då kan man ju gå in där och kryssa i departure på vänsterkolumnerna. Men i bästa fall ska man inte behöva göra någonting där alls. Så primning är väldigt viktigt. Det är det som bestämmer, om vi nu ska gå tillbaka till den här parallellen. Vem sitter i stolen? Ja, nu är det jag som sitter i stolen. Då är det jag som är på primad. Sen är det lite lättare i verkligheten kanske för att man sätter sig och ställer sig upp eller så. Då vet man vem som har kontroll. Kroppsspråk och sånt är lite svårt att göra på Discord. Om inte alla ska flyga med video på, det tror jag är ganska dumt. Sen vad hade jag mer precis? Om vi har flera som är primade på en position, ni vet ju det, då tar ni den med, alltså den går den efter alfabetisk ordning. Som jag har någon på, som är inloggad med login call sign ESSA _W_tower. Alltså Arlanda Torn Väst. Om mentorn loggar in på ESSA _M_tower så kommer ju, om båda är primade så kommer Euroscope för alla andra visa ESSA M-tower som aktiv för att M kommer ju innan W i alfabetet, hoppas jag, så att inte jag hittar på något här nu. Så därför borde ju mentorn då logga in på ESSA med 2 M-tower. Eller om han bara får ta ESSA X eller Z-tower, jag är inte säker helt. Man får ju fråga. Men det blir väldigt dumt om mentorn, i idealfall så primar man ju inte alls. Men om man verkligen känner man behöver göra det så kolla så att det är rätt ordning. Det går ju lätt att fråga någon annan. För dig själv så kommer du ju alltid visas som primära. Så mentorn kommer ju se sig själv som, det är jag som heter TW som är aktiv som Arlanda Tower West. Och eleven kommer ju se sig själv som aktiv som det. Så det där är svårt, så man får fråga någon tredje part. Och sen en liten sista grej för rosa världen ACC. Det skickas ju rosa världen hit och dit. Supersmidigt system. Det är mycket Euroscope, mycket Vatsim, alla har i princip all data. Men rosa världen skickas ju bara mellan den som begär det, alltså den som initierar, och den som ska godkänna eller neka eller ändra då. Om den då godkänns så kommer ju fläggen uppdateras för det planet för den som har begärt det och den som har godkänt det, förutsatt man då har godkänt det. Alla andra kommer ju fläggen se ut som innan. Exempel. Stockholm. Vi gör en galning här. Malmö 2 är öppet, Stockholm 3 är öppet och så har vi Stockholm Approach. Av någon anledning magisk anledning så samordnar Stockholm. Det är ett dåligt exempel. Någon begär, de vill ha rosa värde direkt Hebby. Stockholm Approach skickar det till Stockholm 3.